Look at this huge building. It's the size of several football fields. And every time you click the send button on ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini, your request shoots across the internet in a fraction of a second to these buildings, which is packed with hundreds of thousands of GPUs running at full power 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. These are hyperscale data centers. Now, you may think the future of AI is in the models themselves, but it's not. It's what's actually happening inside of these buildings that you didn't know existed. So today, we're going to break down what's actually powering AI around the world, how it actually works, and why it's triggering what might be the most important tech arms race of our lifetime. So let's get into it. These are called hyperscale data centers, and they're not the same thing as a regular data center. A regular data center is just a big room full of servers that store files. It runs your apps and it handles web traffic. Think of it like a giant filing cabinet for the internet. But a hyperscale AI data center is completely different. These are buildings the size of several football fields, sometimes entire campuses or multiple buildings. And they're all built to do one thing: run AI. And even the scale of what they're doing is so hard to wrap your head around. Think about it this way. Every time you type a prompt to generate an image, or ask an AI to write something, that request gets processed somewhere, physically, in a real building. And the compute required to do that, even for a simple text response, is orders of magnitude more intense than what normal data centers handle. Now, multiply that by hundreds of millions of users requesting these same things every single day. These facilities are packed with hundreds of thousands of GPUs, synchronized together to act like one single massive supercomputer. And you've probably heard the word GPU a lot lately. Jensen Huang of NVIDIA mentions it at every keynote, and every AI company likes to talk about how many GPUs they own like it's a status symbol. But what is a GPU, and why do people care so much about them? So GPUs were originally built for video games. Their whole job was to render thousands of pixels on screen simultaneously, taking all the geometry of a 3D world and calculating how it should look from your perspective. And this was for every single frame 60 times a second. To do that, you'd need millions of calculations happening all at the same time in parallel. Now compare that to a regular CPU, central processing unit in your computer or laptop. A CPU is just a generalist genius. It can handle almost any task, but it works sequentially. So it does things one at a time or just a few things at a time. And a modern CPU has about 16 to 32 cores. Now looking at a single NVIDIA H100 GPU, the chip that every AI lab is currently fighting over, that has 16,896 CUDA cores. Yeah, that's nearly 17,000 cores on one chip, and it's all running in parallel. Now, modern AI GPUs have dedicated hardware called tensor cores. They're built for the exact type of matrix multiplication that neural networks need, and that's used for training AI models. Now, the H100 can perform up to 4 petaflops of tensor operations per second. That's 4 quadrillion calculations per second on a single chip. Now, multiply that by hundreds of thousands of GPUs in a single data center, all connected by a high-speed networking fabric called InfiniBand running at 400 gigabytes per second. And you start to understand why these facilities can train models at a scale that would have seemed like science fiction only 5 years ago. And more GPUs means faster training for the AI. Faster training means better models. And better models means winning the AI race. Which is exactly why NVIDIA, a company that most people knew as a gaming graphics brand, became one of the most valuable companies in the world almost overnight. Their data center revenue alone hit $193 billion last year, and that dominance actually set off a war. So here's the situation. NVIDIA controls roughly 92% of the GPU market. Every major AI lab, OpenAI, Google, Meta, Anthropic, runs primarily on NVIDIA hardware. OpenAI alone is planning to deploy at least 10 gigawatts of NVIDIA systems for its next generation infrastructure. And the new Blackwell chip generation, NVIDIA's latest, is so powerful and in such demand that there's wait lists to get on them. And when one company controls 92% of the hardware that the entire AI industry runs on, everyone else starts getting a little nervous. So what exactly happens? Well, everybody else starts building their own chips. AMD is now a serious challenger. OpenAI even took a 10% stake in AMD just to secure its GPU supply. Not because they really wanted to invest, but they just needed the chips. Google now also has their own AI custom chips called TPUs, Tensor Processing Units, which it uses to internally train and run its own models. And Amazon has Trainium for training and inferentia and inference. Meta also has their own chip called MTIA, Matia, and Microsoft is also building custom silicon as well too. These are trillion-dollar companies deciding that it's worth spending billions to reduce their dependence on one supplier. But the numbers that they're spending on this infrastructure is insane. In 2026 alone, Amazon is putting in $200 billion. Google's putting in about $175 to $185 billion. And Meta is $115 to $135 billion. And that's not their total budget. That's just for the AI infrastructure. And if you zoom out even further, the global AI hardware market was $59 billion in 2024. It's now projected to hit $296 billion by 2034. So the race isn't just between companies anymore, it's between countries. The US, China, and all of Europe are scrambling to build sovereign AI infrastructure because whoever controls the hardware controls the future of AI. But that's not all. There's also a lot more logistics that go into this hyperscale AI data center craze than we think about. And the next one includes networking and cooling of the data centers. Before we get any further, I'd like to introduce you to today's sponsor, Supabase. Supabase is the Postgres development platform. You can immediately start your project with a Postgres database, authentication, instant APIs, edge functions, real-time subscriptions, storage, and vector embeddings. So we're in our dashboard, and this is where you can create a new project. And once it's set up, you can see that I already have an active database ready to use. You can also manually create a table or run queries within the dashboard itself. So let's say you're working on a Python project. Whenever you want to connect to Supabase's database, you can install the package using this npm command. And then you can add the environment variables and client or whatever into your project. And they actually have an exact example of all the things that you need to add on their dashboard. And you could even install agent skills, which is totally optional. Once that's done, you can easily have your API interact with the data stored in Supabase. In fact, Supabase auto-generates an API directly from your database schema, allowing you to connect your database through a RESTful interface, directly from the browser if needed too. It's designed to get you building as fast as possible, without writing a single line of code. And it's also very easy to set everything up, and to migrate existing data from sources like Firebase storage, Postgres, and more. So if you want to learn more, feel free to check out their website. I've provided a link in the description below. So what are you waiting for? Start building today. These GPUs don't just compute independently. They have to communicate with each other constantly, passing enormous amounts of data back and forth in real time. To do that, facilities are threaded with hundreds of thousands of miles of fiber optic cables, connecting every chip together like a central nervous system. If that nervous system slows down even slightly, the whole supercomputer slows down too. The networking infrastructure alone in one of these facilities is more complex than most internet companies. And then there's the heat problem. These GPUs generate so much heat that regular air conditioning doesn't really cut it. Like the kind that cools every office building and server room on Earth. It literally can't keep up. So engineers had to invent entirely new approaches. Some facilities use cold water plates bolted directly onto the chips, running chilled water millimeters away from the components, generating hundreds of watts of heat. And others go even further. They submerge the entire hardware, like racks, cables, everything, into giant tanks of cooling fluid. And the next frontier is dunking them in seawater. Microsoft already ran a pilot program with underwater data centers on the ocean floor of the coast of Scotland. The fact that we're seriously considering putting AI infrastructure on the bottom of the ocean floor tells you everything about how extreme this heat problem actually is. And last but not least, we're going to talk about the power needed to actually maintain these data centers. The largest data centers being built today consume over 1 gigawatt of electricity, not the whole campus. One building and 1 gigawatt. It's enough to power an entire city. And we're not just building one of these, we're building dozens, even hundreds, all around the world. And AI data centers are projected to consume as much electricity as some entire countries just within a few years. And right now, over half of that electricity comes from, ding ding ding, fossil fuels. This demand is growing so fast that power has become the primary design constraint for new data centers, not performance, or cost, or location. Engineers are now asking one question before everything else. Can we actually get enough electricity here? And some facilities are being built in special locations, not because of land prices or proximity to talent, but simply because they need to relocate to where enough power actually exists. So what are big tech companies doing about this? Google is actually exploring solar-powered data centers in space, and with actual space-based solar panels beaming energy down to Earth. That's pretty cool. Microsoft has signed deals with nuclear power plants, including restarting the 3 Mile Island facility in Pennsylvania. And these aren't science fiction proposals. These are things that are happening right now, because the energy demand for AI is that extreme. And the AI race isn't just a chip race, it's an energy race. And whoever solves this power problem might have more influence over the future of AI than whoever builds the best model. So let's zoom out for a second. Every AI response that you've gotten has come from somewhere physical. A real building, real chips, and real power. And even real cooling fluid to keep those chips from overheating. The models are the ones that are getting all the attention right now. GPT-5, Claude, Gemini. These are the names that everyone knows. But underneath every single one of them is a hidden layer of infrastructure. Hyperscale data centers, GPU clusters, fiber optic nervous systems, nuclear power deals. These are all things that most people don't even think about. And this is actually shaping what the future of AI looks like, how fast it's going to be, and who gets left behind. The AI war is not about models. It's about the infrastructure, the hardware, and it's just getting started. If you want more deep dives like this, feel free to subscribe. We cover the tech stories that actually matter, and there's a lot more coming. So see you in the next one.